Hey, what's going on, everybody? A bit of a different video today. I know typically we are covering Fallout stuff, but with Bethesda's next big game being Starfield, and we just finally got some real gameplay of the game, I figured it would be a good idea to break down some of what we'll be getting for the future of our Bethesda modding experience. We're not going to be getting another Fallout anytime soon, and this is going to be a nice debut of the next edition of the creation engine, and it'll be cool to look at some of the new stuff that's going to be included in that. And I gotta tell you, if you haven't seen the Starfield gameplay already, it's absolutely insane. I'm going to be breaking it down here right now so we can look at some of the finer details of what's going to be included not only in this game but available with the engine, and what's possible for modders to do with these new systems. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and get started with the gameplay. And so right off the bat, we get a look at the moon of Crete, one of the new locations that will be available in Starfield. Right off the bat, I gotta say that this looks absolutely amazing. The environment compared to Fallout 4 is stunning. The game takes place in 2330, so it takes place after Fallout 4. Of course, they're not connected as far as we know, but it is just interesting to get a look at the timeline. We also get a look at the ship flying in, and we're going to have a lot to talk about in regards to the ships later. I'm assuming this is going to be the standard intro sequence whenever you land on a planet. I'm curious if you're going to have to look at this every time, or if maybe this is just going to be for the intro of the game. That's kind of yet to be known. We then get a look at the interior of the ship as the bay opens up with our nice little robot companion. We've gotten a look at him before, and yet again, just looks absolutely stunning. It's nice to see some good nav meshing with this engine as well. Really quick, we'll pause it because there's a couple of things on the HUD that are definitely worth noting. We can see on the left that we have a couple of meters. First of all, we can see the location, which is the planet of Crete. We don't have a proper mini map, but it does tell us the overall location. We also have a meter for oxygen and CO2, so those will probably be something that you have to manage. When looking over at the right side of the screen, we also see the health bar, the semi-auto pistol that the character is holding. They have 12 rounds in their magazine with an 80 capacity and 10 frag grenades. Pretty similar to the same HUD style of Fallout 4, but it definitely looks a lot neater in my opinion. We then get a look at an interesting new piece of flora and also a first look at the new scanner tool that will allow you to get more information on your surroundings. And we do get a lot of information on the screen here as well. We see a surveying status where we can see how much of the resources of this planet the character has surveyed. Kind of reminds me of No Man's Sky a little bit in that regard. We can see they've had 5 out of 8 resources scanned and 0 of the fauna and 0 out of 2 of the flora. Pretty interesting. And we also see that there is a scan range of 50 meters and the current biome has 50%. Not sure what exactly that signifies. I'm assuming the amount of the biome they've explored or discovered, but kind of unsure at the moment. But the fact that we do note the scan range of 50 meters makes me assume that we will be able to upgrade this. So pretty interesting. Additionally, on this screen, we can see that the HUD elements have changed a little bit. The Crete moon also has the temperature now, as well as the gravity. Additionally, we can see that the pistol has changed to a tool known as the cutter. When we look at the tooltips down at the bottom, we can also see a couple of buttons that are pretty interesting, like the fact that you can toggle on a guide. There is, in fact, a photo mode, I'm assuming much like 76, and also that there is a button for an outpost. Curious to see if that refers to the settlement system or not, which, by the way, we'll get more into that a little bit later in this video. The character then begins to walk down the path and we get our first look at some wildlife in this game, and we are definitely going to be dealing with some really alien creatures, some sort of little bug looking guys right now. More of our stunning atmosphere and world building. We then get a look at third person where we can see some of the new clothing and outfits for the game, and we can also get a look at what third person combat might look like, but we do not actually engage with our giant crab looking friend here. They appear to be non-hostile, at least when you don't engage with them. I would assume that something like this would behave a little bit more like if you attack them, they attack you, but we'll have to see when we actually get our hands on the game. We then move on and the character continues to explore, and we get to pull out that scanner yet again, and we get to get a look at the iron. So while you have the scanner open, you do use that cutter tool and you get some resources. So I'm assuming this is going to be how you upgrade settlements or possibly even weapons and armor in the game, but there definitely will be some sort of resource management. As we move forward, we then get a new discovery of a location much like Fallout or Skyrim, as well as an XP pop-up, and we also get a look at a brand new ship, a Crimson Fleet Ghost. Our character then pulls out a gun for the first time and also opens up a nice little hotbar. When taking a closer look at the hotbar, it does look very reminiscent of the one from Fallout 4. We have 4 different directions, left, right, up, and down, and there are 3 different slots for each of those. For those of you on PC, you're just using the numpad, but if you are on Xbox, then you know this one very, very well. We see some sort of an SMG known as the Grendel, a pistol, a shotgun, and that cutter tool. And it looks like we'll be able to have a lot of items at our disposal. I'm curious if you'll be able to hotkey different medicine items like you would in Fallout, but we'll just have to see. We then get a closer look at that Grendel SMG, and it does have a very nice reload animation. I'm very excited to see the potential of what modders will be able to create in this new engine with all of these new animations, and I'm sure they'll be able to get custom animations in very shortly after. We then get a look at the interior of this location as we sort of flash forward through it. It looks like your character does move pretty slow, but I'm assuming there is sprint, but we're just taking time to soak in all of the atmosphere, the highly detailed environments. And then we get a look at our first enemies, known as pirates. It tells us the level as well as the health bar above them. We then also briefly see a pop-up on the pirate that says press A to take and press X to transfer, meaning we are definitely going to have the quick loot system from Fallout 4 in this game. Here we get a good look at the gameplay, including the fact that you can shoot and reload while running, and you can also slide in this game. So some definite improvements to the modern shooter aspect. You can also throw a grenade very simply, which is really, really nice. Not the old school system from Fallout New Vegas. We also get a close look at the double barrel shotgun, which has some really cool animations. Has a very cyberpunk feel in my opinion, but still looks really nice. And then we get a look at the new lockpicking system. While opening up this weapons case, you can see there is a new lockpicking minigame. That's right, something I'm sure everybody was hoping for. We have one for Skyrim, we have one for Fallout, now we have this one, which is pretty interesting. We then get a look at the new gun just picked up, and to be honest, it looks a lot like the Institute weapons in Fallout 4, especially when you aim down sights with this thing, but it still looks really neat. Has a very cool and interesting reload animation, so I'm excited to see that. One thing that's going to be really cool with this game is the fact that we are not limited to real-world firearms, so modders can be very, very creative to see what they can come up with sci-fi weapons. We then get a look at the jump jet sort of jetpack. I'm curious how much freedom of movement we're going to have with that thing, but it is still really cool to see it. After a quick break, we get back to some more gameplay and some rendered scenes, as well as some new locations like New Atlantis on the planet of Jemison. And this place looks incredible, highly detailed, lots of NPCs running around. I'm sure you'll be able to get into a whole lot of trouble here if you really wanted to. I'm sure that this area is highly tied into the story, so you're probably not going to be able to do a whole lot here, or at least I would assume so. It seems like this is far more for the development of different quests. We also get a look at the new lip movement and a good close-up look at some of the characters, and they definitely look great. Unlike Fallout 4, where everybody just looks like a carbon copy, there is some real character definition here. We get a look at some of the story elements and some of the artifacts that you will uncover, as well as some other really cool scenes like all of these floating bits here. None of it's going to make a whole lot of sense yet because we don't know the story, but it is still very interesting. As more of the story unfolds, we get a look at some more characters and find out that you are going to be tied to a quest to find out about some new artifacts, which is pretty cool. We get a look at some more planets and locations, as well as different characters who are all super, super unique, which is definitely a sight for sore eyes. Fallout 4 left a lot to be desired when it came to world building and story, and I think that this game is really going to bring it. We also get a look at a new pirate faction, which I thought at first was just going to be a standard enemy, but we find out later that you definitely get to choose who you side with in this game. A huge RPG element that was really, really missing in Fallout 4. You could pick sides in Fallout 4, but you couldn't pick every side. But in this game, it seems like you really can. If you want to be a good guy, a bad guy, you can do whatever you want. Here we get a look at the pirates up close, and you can see they're vile scum, but you can still play as them if you wanted to. We then get some quick cuts between different combat scenarios. We see some zero gravity combat fighting some big creatures, some awful spidery looking thing. There's going to be a lot of enemy diversity in this game, which is going to be really, really cool. And it makes sense because you're going to be going between planets. So I would hope that the creatures are very diverse, and it looks like they definitely will be. We then get a look at character customization, and it is very, very in-depth. You can customize so many aspects of your character and make some truly unique people, not only in your faces and hair, but also the way that you walk, the way that your body looks. There is just so much to be done, which is really cool. And adding in more RPG elements, you can also change the background of your character, which will give you different perks. Very similar to New Vegas, you get to have some sort of a trait, except this time it is tied to your background. And then you can even pick additional traits on top of all of that. We see a lot of traits in this section, like alien DNA, empath, extrovert, introvert, kid stuff. These are all going to have different perks that change the way that your character functions in the world, which is something we've been wanting for so long since Fallout 4. Very, very excited to see that in this game. One of the starter traits shown in this showcase is called Starter Home, and that even starts you with a small house on a moon with a 50,000 credit mortgage. So it really shows that these traits are going to heavily impact your character, and they're all very, very different from each other, which allows for some serious character creation, which I appreciate a lot as a player. We also get a look at some of the different clothing and outfits that you'll be able to find in this game, which is really awesome for more character customization. We also get a look at the perk screen here, which is really interesting. They are all broken down into different categories like physical, social, combat, science, and tech. And then from there, you can choose individual perks, which will each have their own ranks to them, so you can really spec into the exact things you want. Another thing that we see in regards to the perks is there are actually challenges associated with each of these perks, which is pretty interesting. When we get a look at rapid reloading, we see a challenge that says reload 150 empty magazines. And it says that the current rank is 3 out of 4, and you will unlock the chance to reload your weapon twice as fast as normal. So pretty interesting. I'm not sure how exactly these challenges are going to incorporate with the perks themselves. Are you going to actually have to complete the challenge to get the perk? Or are you going to have to spend the skill point? We do see a skill point at the bottom left of the tree. Maybe you have to complete the challenge and then spend a skill point. It's really hard to say right now because we only get a brief glimpse, but it is still pretty interesting. I personally am a big fan of challenge locked progression in regards to certain things where you actually have to do the thing that you're trying to progress in, just like Skyrim's leveling system. So this is pretty interesting to me. I gotta say, I'm really excited to see this skill tree in game so we can really play with it and see how this works. But I think this is going to make builds really, really fun. You're actually going to have to progress your character to unlock stuff. Another huge RPG element, so I like that a lot. We also get a look at a new workbench, which has a couple of categories here, and these are really telling. We see pharmacology, food and drink, outpost development, equipment, and weaponry, all of which are going to have available projects. We see that there are different numbers for each of these, and they're going to allow you to craft different things. As we open up the weaponry tab, we get a look at it is essentially the weapons workbench from Fallout 4. On the left, we see the available research projects, and then on the right, we can see a research tree, which will allow you to unlock those further projects. We can also see the required materials down at the bottom, which say iron, nickel, and sealant with 0 out of 20, 20, and 10 respectively, which is pretty interesting. So you will be able to use those harvested materials that we saw earlier to craft on weapons, and I'm assuming armors as well, and even settlements. So that's going to be super, super cool. We then get a very brief look at the weapons and the customization elements, and these are some really high quality models. A little bit more on combat, fighting some of the different creatures you'll encounter on these different planets. And then we finally see a look at the settlement system, and oh my god, I'm so excited. All I wanted from Starfield was a settlement system so that we can inhabit different planets, much like No Man's Sky, and that's exactly what we're gonna get. Let's go ahead and go back and check out some of those HUD elements because there's some really telling stuff there. On this settlement or outpost building screen, we do get a couple of interesting things. First of all is a toggle view button, which we will get a look at in a second, where you can actually turn this thing into top down so that we can really manage how our buildings look, which is awesome. You don't have to do everything from first person. We also have a couple of things at the bottom there for resources. We have cargo, crew, power, and production. So it seems like these are definitely going to be more intended for resource management than just a typical cool looking settlement like it was in Fallout 4, but I'm sure that you can go wild and make this place look really nice as well. And I have no doubt that mods will bring in even more items to really help you make your settlements feel like a cozy home. Looking at the top-down menu, we get a look at the name of the outpost as well as the build requirements for each of these objects. On the right, we have the different tabs, which look a lot like the Fallout 76 building tabs. We're looking at the structures right now, but you can obviously cycle through the different categories and look at each of these things here, which is really, really cool. I'm honestly super excited about this. It looks like it's already got a lot of depth to it, and I'm sure that modders will just add even more. We then get a look at what I assume are some of the workers at the outpost, as well as some little droids, and then a ship coming down, and this is where we get some more really exciting news. Not only can you customize your outposts, but you can even customize your ship. That's right. The ship that you can not only go inside of, but you can pilot, you can also customize exactly how it looks, which is just incredible. You can literally build the ship from the ground up. Starting with the cockpit, you can add so many different parts to it, and they all have their own separate purposes. They have their own brands for each of these parts that are all in game, and you can even change the exact color of each individual part of the ship, as well as throw on patterns, so you can really customize this thing. That's so cool. Taking a closer look at some of these parts, we see a whole bunch of stuff on the HUD right here, including the fact that throwing on this White Dwarf 1000 engine, it is a Class A engine with an engine thrust of 1550, a maneuvering thrust of 815, an engine health of 48, and a health of 100. That doesn't mean a whole lot to us now, but I'm sure that as we play the game, this is going to be a very important and integral part of shipbuilding. I'm so excited because I love flying ships in games like this, and having this much control over how your ship performs and looks is gonna be so exciting. As we hover over the cockpit, we get a look at even more stats, including cargo space, health, and crew slots, which means there is going to be a crew on your ship. I'm sure that's something you'll also have to manage, which is going to be pretty interesting. I'm assuming that you're going to have to manage not only the crew of your ship, but your outpost as well, so it will be important to recruit people to your team, much like you would recruit settlers in Fallout. We can also see the cost of this item, as well as the little currency symbol, which is nice and simple. I gotta say, I like this thing a lot. We also get a look at the overview of the entire ship and its stats, with the hull, shield, cargo, crew, jump range, which is 18 light years, which is a pretty hefty distance, a mobility of 91, and a top speed of 150. I'm not sure what the unit of measurement is just yet, but this is all very, very cool. In this game, you will be able to actually pilot your ship in first person with a full heads-up display, and it looks so cool. And there's going to be proper ship-to-ship combat. This game truly does have it all. If you're looking for a nice space RPG experience, this game is really going to bring it. Even if you're not super interested in it, this is definitely going to be something really cool and really special. This is an awesome looking game so far, I have to say. I really am excited. I wasn't at first, but now with all of this, I truly am astonished with what is coming. And this is all in the newly developed Creation engine. Never would we have thought of seeing intense vehicle combat like this, as well as everything else that we've seen today. But it doesn't end here. Not only is there actual in-flight ship-to-ship combat, but you can do so much more with your spaceship in this game. You'll be able to travel between planets. So here we can get a look at Jemison, and you can travel to any planet in the Alpha Centauri system. But not only that, you can travel to other systems. In the reveal, they said there are over 100 systems for us to explore, which is absolutely insane. Something much like the scale, again, of me bringing this up, No Man's Sky. I'm assuming that these planets will be procedurally generated, as there's just no way to have that many planets all handcrafted. I would also have to assume that most of these are going to be barren wastelands. They'll probably have some sort of life on it in the terms of like creatures and stuff like that, but I don't expect to see fully fledged quest lines on every single planet. At least, I don't assume so, but we'll have to see, I suppose. My guess is that the core story and quest elements of this game will be tied to a handful of select planets, but then everything else is out there for you to explore, build outposts on, and get resources. And we get a good look at some of the different environments, and it does look incredible. I hate to keep drawing comparisons to No Man's Sky, but it's the best comparison that we have right now of being able to go onto these planets and build bases and manage your resources so that you can have a really fun character with a lot of tools at your disposal. You'll be able to do a lot in this game, and that has me super excited. I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't super excited for Starfield initially, but now that I've seen gameplay, which is what I've been waiting on for so long, this game has me really hyped. I think this could be a very, very good game. If it delivers on all of these aspects and provides modding support, this is a game that you can play for a very, very long time. One thing I still want to see a lot of is more weapon diversity and what you can do in that regard. That's just something that I care about, but I'm sure not everybody really worries about that. But I will say, seeing some of the outfits earlier, that I'm going to assume that the same care has been giving to the weapons. It does seem like there are a bunch of different styles from the little bit of gameplay that we did get in that regard, so I'm assuming it's going to be really, really nice. Another thing that I really hope for, and this is just for me in regards to modding support, is that there are a lot of weapon animations. As somebody who has yet to take the plunge into making custom animations, I hope we have a lot of good vanilla resources that people will be able to implement into their mods right off the bat. The assets in this game look absolutely incredible, so mod authors are definitely going to have their work cut out to make some really good assets that are on par with the vanilla game, but of course, they can always use the in-game nifs to bash them together. So, with that is a good look at Starfield and everything that we've gotten in terms of gameplay thus far. I hope you guys enjoyed this kind of a video. It's not something I intend to do very often, but this gameplay had me very, very excited, and I just wanted to share some of the cool stuff I saw with you. I'm personally so excited to see settlement building return, as well as weapon modifications and a lot of the core systems of Fallout. I know not everybody was really expecting that or necessarily wanting it, but it's definitely something that I want. I'm really excited to see where Bethesda goes with these gameplay mechanics in the future. Who knows, maybe in the next Elder Scrolls we'll have a settlement system as well where you can make your own keeps and castles. Personally, I'd really like that, but I know not everyone would. But regardless, this is going to be a really, really cool game. Thanks for watching, guys, and I hope you enjoyed this sort of a video. If you did, don't forget to drop a rating, consider subscribing for more videos just like this regarding Bethesda and Fallout, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Let me know in the comments if you'd want to see a Starfield playthrough, because I do intend to do one when the game drops, as long as you guys are wanting to watch it. With that, I hope to see you guys in the next video. Peace!